moved out at 17, and once that happened, it was more like I was in defensive mode for my whole life. And then once I got out on my own, it was like a breath of fresh air, and I could focus on starting to heal.
This is Joe Wong. Welcome to the Trap Set. I want to play something for you. You're hearing Communist Picnic by Dangerously Sleezy, featuring my guest, Mindee Jorgensen on drums. A native of Sioux City, Iowa, Jorgensen is a multi-instrumentalist whose drumming is informed by her rudimental marching background and an omnivorous appetite for music. A resident of LA for over a decade, Mindee also plays with ModPods and was recently selected by Dale Crover, one of her favorite drummers, to drum for his new solo band. She also works as a drum instructor, writer, recording engineer, and podcaster. I spoke to her in downtown Los Angeles. And now my conversation with Mindee Jorgensen.
My first band was like a punk rock band, almost like in vein of Black Flag, called Forever Donkey. And that was, started in high school. And I played, next I was in a band called Silent Time, which was like experimental instrumental punk. And that band did some Midwest touring and put out a couple albums. I was briefly in a black metal band called Plague Winds. And then throughout that whole time, I played in Iowa, I just played in a bunch of bands, maybe 15. I'd do fill-in stuff whenever I could. I would play bass in a handful of bands as well.
What was your first instrument?
I'm going to go with saxophone.
Okay.
I grew up, my dad was a guitar player, so they were like toys, but I never really learned, saxophone's what I learned actual music on. But I definitely strummed around on guitars and basses as a child.
So did you play sax in band class?
Yeah, from 5th grade till 8th grade. And then I quit band in 8th grade. And then the summer before 9th grade, the band teacher called up and asked if I would want to join band again and was like, it's going to be so fun. We're going on a field trip to Canada and we need more students. And I said, only if I can play drums. Because I knew I wanted to be a drummer,
when did you know that?
As a child.
Oh, you always knew that?
Yeah, pretty much.
So how come you didn't just start on drums?
I tried to, but there were so many people that wanted to play drums. The school had a rule where you had to have 2 years of piano first to kind of weed out everybody. And my stepmom was she played saxophone, so she's like, here, play saxophone. And
so your dad is a guitarist and your stepmom is a saxophonist.
Yeah, or that's what she did in high school.
Got it. Was your dad a serious guitar player?
Before I was born, he moved to Nashville. I know he put out a solo album and he toured playing guitar in a backup band for, I think it was country gospel singing lady or sisters or something like that. So somewhat, yeah, and he still always has guitars and plays and makes recordings for himself. Yeah. Was
your mom around too?
No. Well, I lost my mom as a child when I was 4.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, it was a rough thing, but drums definitely helped me like a therapy, especially when I was a teenager and I really needed something to get me through the trauma.
As a teenager, you started thinking about the trauma more?
Yeah, I mean, it was always there. I feel like it was so traumatic that my brain, after the initial shock and everything, growing up, maybe 6 to teenage years, it was kind of in the back of my mind, and I would cry a lot, but I wouldn't be crying for my mom. It'd be something crazy, I'd get in trouble for like not doing the dishes, and then I'd be crying way more than any child would for such a thing. But it was because there's all that grief locked up and it needed a way to get out. And it was pretty hard to comprehend. So once I hit teenage years and it kind of came flooding back and into my brain, you know, trying to comprehend the loss. And then also being a teenager, I was awkward, I was shy. And I had all this weight with nowhere to go, no outlet for expression, really.
Well, then you found an outlet, right?
Yeah, drums.
How did that change your life?
It definitely helped me focus. It gave me goals and something to work for so I didn't feel so lost. Also, through like joining Drumline, I kind of was more feeling like part of a group where I definitely always felt kind of like alone in the world. And just like, it gave me something that, you know, I could pound my heart out and really get emotions out, whereas, you know, and there weren't really words for it, like the pain I felt, if that makes sense. So like,
did you go to therapy, or were you just doing drums for your therapy?
Pretty much just drums. I kind of, as a teenager, asked about therapy, but my stepmom was like, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, the perspective that only if there's something wrong with you,
yeah,
you go to therapy.
And I mean, there's definitely stuff wrong with me, but it was mostly on the inside, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's even the way I would look at it anymore. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest too, and I think
yeah.
it wasn't part of everyday life for my family either.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, just because nothing's wrong with your teeth doesn't mean you don't go have them checked out at the dentist every once in a while.
Yeah,
and I think
sure.
anybody can benefit from talking through things.
I definitely
with a therapist.
could have as a child. I think I went to like emergency grief counseling right after it happened when I was a little child, but beyond that, nothing. I'm in therapy now, and it has really helped, so definitely. All those years, though, no therapy, just drums.
When you started playing drums and you started developing your own taste, what kind of music were you listening to?
So I definitely started with marching band, and I got really into it and was a huge drumline geek and thought it was so great. So playing-wise, that's where I started. I've always kind of had a heart for like rock and roll and like the energy of different bands like that, like the Rolling Stones, AC/DC. As a child, I loved Meatloaf, Creedence Clearwater. And then I was kind of a loner, so I didn't really have anyone to show me what is now the music I'm really into, like punk or like math rock, metal, heavy stuff, you know? So as like just kind of whatever was on the radio and I was discovering on my own. So at that time, like Nirvana was definitely on the radio. I remember Refuse, seeing that music video and being really intrigued by that, and the drumming.
Which one?
The New Noise video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like, because I didn't really have like any older siblings or anyone to show me stuff, so it's kind of, I had to find everything on my own. I always listened to a lot of oldies as well. And so I've always had that, like, you know, the energy kind of rock and roll, like hit really hard, passion, power. That's always kind of been in me and part of my drumming. But
I would say even drumline has that because you're walking, you're marching. It's a very physical manifestation of the craft.
And I think it did give me a lot of strength. I played bass drums starting out with, the 22-inch one, so I was carrying that around for years, I guess.
Did you switch to tenor drums or snare or anything, or cymbals?
I didn't. It's kind of funny because you wouldn't think so, but I switched to cymbals. And the reason being is right in 9th grade when I joined drumline and started on bass drum, there was this new, I guess, extracurricular drumline that was starting up in our city. It was like, come audition any high school, like all high schools, all drummers. But you had to know like the rudiments, and I had just been playing for like a month. And so that inspired me to learn all the rudiments in like 2 weeks. I had like other drummers, like I would ask people, but I didn't really have any lessons. It was just taught I just kind of taught myself through asking, hey, what's this? How do you do this? And I auditioned and I got cymbals, but then I thought they were just so fun and like, you could twirl them and do tricks and stuff. And then, so I played cymbals in that drum line for 5 years. I never really tried to play snare or the like tenor drums. I just kind of stuck with bass and cymbals. But I did play like practice pattern stuff and work on the rudiments all the time and really take those serious.
Did you get a visceral enjoyment out of practicing the rudiments? Like, did it feel like a meditative exercise?
It does, yes. I think it's important, like all new drummers. I give drum lessons and I start rudiments right away and try to like be like, here, these are so fun. It's important. This will make you really good, other than just like playing beats,
What's your teaching style? How would you describe it?
Very encouraging, because everyone's going to mess up when they first start. So I try to make sure that they understand your body's learning something it's never done before. Your limbs aren't used to thinking separately. So, just encouraging if, don't be hard on yourself. It's brand new. On the first lesson, I focus on that, but I at least always get them on the kit for at least like 10 minutes so that they can get that feeling and try to be like, see, it's so fun, like get that passion ignited in them. But while still making sure they start on the right path with, stick control, how to hold the sticks, all the form correct and stuff.
What is your objective?
I mostly want them to feel the joy and like feel what I feel with drumming, which is just like a geeky excitement. Like, this is so fun. I love these. And I've had a few students that really like that spark is there.
You can see it. You can tell when they have it. Right?
And it makes me happy. Like a girl that I'm working with right now, it's been maybe about 7 months and I just can't believe how fast she has progressed, and it's because she practices and she bought an electric kit right away and she goes and rents like studios to practice on acoustic drums, and it's like it makes me happy to see people happy playing drums.
Yeah, I think teaching can be such a rewarding vocation.
Yeah.
If you go into it with that intention.
Yeah. I just want to inspire people to,
Do you have any strategies for if somebody doesn't seem to be connecting with the passion to get them to feel it?
Let's see.
Do you think it's even possible? Like, if someone's not into it, do you think it's possible to get them
It can
to
be.
click?
I feel like you do get the beginning students that just don't practice, and then it's kind of rough because they come back the next week and you almost have to go through the whole last week's lesson before you can get to anything new. So I just really try to encourage, like, go home and practice these things, or like find out what they're into, and while still like starting with the foundations, maybe like, oh, you like this band? Here's a trick their drummer does, or things like that. Try to go really like at their pace. Also, if there's something they're hung up on, it's like a good way to learn new things is if they're not getting it, stop and do something completely different for 10 minutes and then come back to it. That kind of helps your brain process more to get like out of that frustration if you're having trouble.
Yeah, I always say it's like eating, right? When you eat a meal, chewing it is the part that you're most aware of because you're consciously doing it and tasting it. But then most of the digestion process happens subconsciously. And similarly, when you're studying something, it's like putting it into your body. It takes a while for your brain to kind of metabolize it, and then you come back and magically it's easier.
Yeah.
Today's episode of The Trap Set is brought to you by Sonos. Sonos meticulously designs every speaker from the inside out, combining custom-made, best-in-class components with proprietary software. They sent me a Play 5 system, and it holds its own against my studio monitors that cost over 10 times as much. Go to Sonos.com to learn more.
I wasn't very popular at my school. I was kind of an outcast. I was like feeling drums, but I bought a drum set and I couldn't find anyone to let me be in their band or play with. And then I was also on the debate team. And we were on a debate trip and we shared a bus with this other school across town. And there were these two dudes who were kind of punk. And they were talking about like bands and starting a band and needing a drummer. And I was like, I'm a drummer. And then they asked if I could play triple pedal. And I was like, do you mean double pedal? And they're like, no, triple pedal. And I was really confused. And then they told me, yeah, see if you can play NoFX. So I went and bought a NoFX tape and listened to it. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. And that kind of just spiraled me into the punk world. And then at the same time, I guess like when I first started drumming, I was kind of into Metallica. So because of Metallica, I bought a double bass pedal right away with my first set. And I kind of also was starting to get into metal as well. So I both kind of at the same time was punk and metal, kind of sprouting into those worlds and discovering more. And that ended up being the band Forever Donkey that I ended up joining with that guy. And they're like my closest friends and we all still play music, but did
they move out here too?
We don't play together, but everyone in the band is still like a musician, like a working musician, which is really cool.
You found your tribe.
Yeah, and none of them were at my high school. I had to go to meet people outside of my school.
How did you feel about yourself when you were in high school?
I did not have self-esteem. I had a lot of depression issues, I wasn't too into myself, for sure.
How do you feel about yourself now?
Oh, well, I'm pretty happy in life. I still, battle depression, but it's probably going to be just a lifelong thing. But I'm very good at being positive. I love that I'm a drummer. I'm like amazed at how far I've come in some of the situations I've been able to play in and currently play in. And it's just, I feel like I really blossomed, and even though, I still have issues to deal with, I've definitely come a long way since then, emotionally and like with my mental outlook on life.
If you were teaching somebody who was in high school and had some of the same issues that you had in high school, what would you do to help them, given what you know now?
I definitely would say just keep at it, and it really doesn't matter what people think. So you got to just not care. And part of me in high school, I was really hard on myself, but I also had like kind of like a survivor in me where like even though like some of the other drummers were like, why is this new girl on drums? And I obviously had a lot of catching up to do, but it kind of made me work harder. So I used it a bit as a motivation to get better. So I would kind of tell them that, and you're on your own path, and it doesn't matter what other drummers say, because everyone has a starting point, and no one like sits behind a set the first time and kicks ass, so don't let this affect you at all. Don't let any outside, be open to positive criticism. Like you can tell people that want you to do better, and they're like, oh hey, try this, because they care. Or the people that like do it discouragingly, like, why do you do it that way?
Right.
That's wrong. There's like be open to the people that want to help you, because they're going to be there. But anyone that has anything negative to say, they don't matter at all,
When did you kind of figure that out for yourself?
Probably like once I got out of high school. I did have a lot of issues at home with my stepmom. So I feel like a lot of kind of the self-esteem issues came from her outlook on me, or like how she kind of dealt with me. Obviously, I wasn't her real daughter, so she was trying to raise me right with a lot of discipline, but at the same time, I feel like I wasn't like her. Like, she was popular. I wasn't. Like, things like that. So I don't think, I wasn't her daughter, and so we clashed heads a lot. I moved out at 17, and once that happened, it was more like I was in defensive mode for my whole life. And then once I got out on my own, it was like a breath of fresh air, and I could focus on actually like starting to heal and all that stuff.
It sounds like you felt like she wasn't allowing you to blossom into the person that you were, and she was trying to fit you into a different mold.
Exactly, yeah.
How is your relationship with her since you moved out?
I guess it's been up and down, but we're really, like, now I enjoy talking with her, and I respect that she tried to raise me and that, you know, I had food and she took care of me, my needs, but maybe she didn't really take care of my emotional needs, what I needed. Plus, with my situation with my mother, I definitely wasn't like coming in to be the stepmom of a normal child. It was like a very emotionally damaged child.
Were you present when your mom passed away?
I wasn't, but I did see her dead. So that was very traumatic.
I mean, that I can only imagine is got to be incredibly intense. I was with my dad when he died, but I was in my 30s.
Yeah. And
you know, I was an adult with a mature brain. That's every kid's primal fear, is to lose a parent.
yeah, it was really, really rough. And like, even I started therapy about a year ago, and probably like 5 years prior to now, I like couldn't even talk about it. And it's still, I can't talk too much about it, but I'm definitely healing better. I've definitely progressed in my process of grieving, where it was kind of just stalled from like childhood up until like I, pushed it away, be tough, hold it back, never really addressed it.
By being tough, did you ever feel like that closed you off to enjoying things in life, like enjoying music, for example, or getting that joy, like if you put up your emotional armor?
I'd say a little bit, yeah. I did always, like, playing drums is where I feel like most myself, and I feel like where my full self actually comes out. But definitely, like, there's always like a bit of like I can't depend on anybody, so I've always been very self-sufficient. I can't like 100%, just let myself go. I always feel like, I need to have like safety and security because of so much lacking of that as a child.
And then, of course, we all want to get to a place where maybe we're not dependent on people, but that we're able to depend on people and feel able to be vulnerable in that kind of way so that we can count on our friends.
I have trouble with depending on people. I've used to be really bad about accepting compliments. I'm getting better. Even like gifts, or like feeling like I don't deserve help, or things like that.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I'm trying to get better, and I'm trying to be better at like receiving and allowing like people to compliment me, and not. I used to be like, oh, like if people were like, great show, I'd be like, oh yeah, but I messed up a little bit, or I'm not very happy with how I played. And now I just say thank you, and
that's great.
That's huge. Yeah.
Because what's the thinking behind deflecting the compliments? It's usually that you don't feel like they're correct, or that you don't feel worthy of that.
I feel like I've progressed a lot in the last like 5 years or so. Moving to LA helped a lot. Like the fact that I was able to just buy myself up and come to LA not knowing anyone.
Okay, so you moved out of your parents' house when you were 17.
Yeah.
And then what was your plan?
The year after high school, I took 2 college classes for the sole purpose of being in the college band. Because I loved orchestra, I loved classical music, jazz. I'm just a music lover of all kinds. I try to absorb it all to create my own style, So I was like, how can I live without being in band? And then I've gone on and off to college, and after maybe about 10 years, I got a degree in journalism, just an AA community college degree, associate's degree, but it was like a class here, a class there, a year break. Drums, like my whole drive was like, I'm going to be a drummer. Never, since the moment I started playing, have I not been playing. Like always in a band, always thinking drums, knowing that that's my career choice.
When did you decide to move to LA?
Well, I've been here almost 10 years, and part of me always kind of wanted to come to LA, but then I just had an awkward situation in Sioux City that just kind of made me be like, why am I here? Like,
What happened?
well, someone made a prank phone call from my phone to a guy on city council. It wasn't me, it was someone. And
Someone that you knew.
I guess, yeah. But the guy was not too happy, and I ended up, like, a detective contacted me. They heard my voice, and they're like, oh, we know it's not you because it's a man's voice, but we need you to tell us who did it. I wouldn't tell them. And they threatened me with terrorism. Still wouldn't tell them. And then I got subpoenaed, so I had to go get a lawyer and sit there and be interrogated about a prank phone call. And it was just like my brain was like, why? Like,
Such a waste.
It was
Yeah.
like hilarious. It was comedy to me that it was even like a thing, you know? And but then after that, the detective came to one of my shows and was handing out business cards. And I think it was to intimidate me, but it's like, you know, Iowa.
You must not have had much to do.
Yeah, no, there's like totally, you know, they're not like looking for, there's not like tons of murders or anything. So they're like, hey, let's spend all this government money investigating a prank phone call. So it was like humorously like, what the hell? But it was kind of like the push I needed to realize that there was more for me and I couldn't reach my full potential in
In
Sioux
a
City,
place where
Iowa.
that could cause such a stir.
Yeah, it's very conservative, like cookie cutter, fit this mold, and if you don't fit the mold, you're a horrible outcast person. And weed is legal in California.
I'm explosive, explosive. Every time I go wrong, in a second I am nothing. You say nothing. We are lovely. It burns up. I will take this.
I didn't know anyone really when I moved here. I made I'm a drummer flyers, and I went to shows. I searched online. I found bands that I liked and tried to make friends with them. And I couldn't find anyone to drum with, but I ended up, my first band was like a month after I got here. I played bass in a band. And then I was able to form my own band, and that's kind of started playing live about 9 months after I moved here.
What was that band called?
Dangerously Sleezy, which is still going strong today.
When did you feel like you were at home here?
Almost right away, like it just felt right. Like it's always, as soon as I've been here, it's like where I feel like I belong.
You started a podcast called Hotbox.
I did, yes.
What was the impetus to do that?
Well, I did have a radio show on the college station back in Iowa, and I just, I love music, I like radio, I like entertainment. And at first I started as a sound engineer at that Skid Row Studios.
And you were engineering for a radio show there?
Yeah, I just did like I came in 2 nights a week, and there'd be like 3 or 4 podcasts. They'd come in, film, or, record, and then the next one would come in. And I would just run the night and run the board and set everything up.
And then you came up with the idea to do your own.
Yeah.
So what was the premise?
It was 3 stoner chicks, and it was kind of like a comedy variety. Like we'd have guests, a lot of musicians, sometimes like comedians. Sometimes we just have joke episodes. We had a guest that was a pig once. Things like just funny
A real
things.
pig?
Yeah, we had a pig in the studio.
You got the pig high?
No. His name was Choom Choom. And his owner was there and talking and stuff about him and stuff. But it was a really fun show. And
But you would get high first, like everyone would get high, and then you would do the show? Is that how it worked?
yeah. Or while doing the show.
And through doing the podcast, you met Dale Crover.
I did, yes.
And now you're playing drums in his band.
Yes.
How do you approach that situation? You're playing drums for a drummer.
He's definitely is one of my favorite drummers, like long before meeting him. So
when he asked you to join his band, how did you feel?
Well, I was definitely stoked, and I was like, yes. And then I learned the songs as fast as I could, which was a challenge because I'm learning drum parts by a drummer that's like one of the greatest, you know? So it has made me a better drummer, and he's just nice, and it's awesome. And I'll like be playing and I'll feel great and we're friends, and then every once in a while I'll just out of nowhere get like starstruck or nervous. Like I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Dale's Crover's band. Like, how is this real? But like I keep my cool for the most part, and I just do my best. And he's so laid back. I almost like wish he'd be like, do this more. He's just like,
why do you wish that?
That works. Well, just to learn more. Or sometimes I worry, like, am I not playing this part right or stuff? But he's just like, he's just really easy to work with, I guess. And when we do double drumming, that's amazing to me, It's like a dream come true.
What are some other dreams that you have right now that you want to manifest in the future?
I would like to not have to have any day job and just be able to make my living and live comfortably through playing music, through drums, teaching, touring. I love touring. I feel like my strength is as a live drummer. I've been to Japan twice, and I've been to Europe. I'd love to go back to those countries, and I have yet to go to Australia, which is a goal, in South America, and just like the bands I'm in now, just want to see them continue to get bigger and better and be offered opportunities that both earn income and take me, across the world. My main objective, I guess, is just I want to develop my own style so where people can hear it and be like, oh, that's Mindee Jorgensen on drums. Like, take in influences from every which direction I can find them and combine them to be my own and just be the best drummer I can be. The drums are my passion. I just love drumming. I just love listening to drums and meeting drummers and geeking out and talking about drums.
Do you feel like you are the kind of person that when you have those dreams, you can create goals for yourself to make it happen? Or is it more of a feeling that you just follow your instincts?
A little bit of both. I definitely make goals and try to make them happen. I'm in the process of, trying to work normal job less and do more drumming. I'm at the point where all my free time is taken up with band practices and lessons. So I'm about to go to part-time at my day job to allow
what's your
more
day
time.
job?
Well, I work at Bandigo, which is a van rental company, and we rent to touring musicians, which is cool. The Melvins rent from us, so I actually met Buzz before I met Dale. I was a little, I feel like when I first met Dale, I was way starstruck, And Buzz, I was very nervous though, because I met him first. No, I was definitely, when he came in, my heart rate stopped, and then I was shaking, holding the contract, and we did the whole thing the first time I worked with him. And then after it was done, I was like, I saw you in Chicago, and you're such an influence on me. And he's like, oh, thanks. And I was like, yeah, I'm a drummer. And he's like, oh, so you're Dale's fan. I'm like, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I remember that because I instantly heart rate went up, super nervous, oh my God, it's Buzz.
You were saying you're going to go to part-time at that job.
Yeah, that's my goal, and I'd like to get some more drum students to, have that to lean back on, but I'm looking for any session work and if touring gigs that will pay come my way.
What else are you doing right now musically? What are some of the other bands that you have?
Well, I guess I'm in 3 bands where I'm committed to full time. I'm in the bands. So the Dale Crover band, which is amazing. And then I've had the band Dangerously Sleezy, which is kind of like a hard-hitting punk rock band, and started in 2010. So right now we're kind of recording and planning a California tour in August, and we play shows around. Monday we're playing with All Souls in Costa Mesa, and All Right Spider. And then as well, I'm in this really fun band called ModPods. It's like I say like electro dance. It's female fronted. Myriad Slits is the singer, and she also writes computer beats. So she writes songs, beats and vocals. And then me and my friend Daniel come in, and we switch off between bass, drums, and guitar. So that band's really fun because it allows me to get better at guitar and bass, and they're fun to play too. They're not drums, but I enjoy playing them. So it's a really cool opportunity to get that done. And we're in the middle of recording a full length right now. Last summer we toured with the Melvins, opening for them, And once we get the full length done, we'd like to tour more and find a nice label to put it out on, things like that.
If you could switch places with me, who would you want to interview?
I've never met Dave Lombardo. He's kind of a goal to meet.
Dale is the person that introduced me to Dave.
Oh, cool, yeah. Through Dale, I met John Theodore recently.
John's a great guy.
That would be cool to get to know him better.
Come on, John. Come on the show. Mindee will interview you.
I'll be the guest host.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Mario Rubalcaba.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't met him in person either, so that would be cool.
Well, we got to make some of these introductions happen.
Yeah, I mean, I love meeting drummers. I get starstruck with drummers. I can meet famous actors and it's nothing to me. Oh, cool. Yeah, you're a cool person.
Yeah.
And then drummers, I get kind of nervous and oh.
Well, I think that means that you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to hearing you more and more in the future. Mindee Jorgensen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'm so appreciative.
The Trap Set is produced by me, Joe Wong, along with Chris Karwowski, who also edits the program. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Trap Set, and visit our website, thetrapset.net, to subscribe to our show for free. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please donate to our show. If you can't afford to donate, please tell a friend and give us a good rating on iTunes. Send your feedback and guest requests to thetrapset@gmail.com.